Hello, welcome to another episode of Nat Drinks and Talks About Stuff. It's exciting because we're recording the video early enough that my brother's awake and can be here for it.
I
Uh,
exist.
he exists. Another change is, for those of you that watched the last video, I've decided to drink water for this one. I've not had anything to drink since then, and I don't think I need to drink anything for a while. I'll still make sure to drink during the video, because I feel that I should do
Yeah,
that
I
or
mean, he
whatever.
didn't specify that it was alcohol, so I think it's
I
okay to
think
switch to water.
Well, I'll come up with a different title to put on YouTube. I know, make more. Dad drinks water and has a rational conversation.
Dad drinks water and holds his piss.
Yeah, Nat drinks water and doesn't repeat the same thing 5 goddamn times because. Oh yeah, so this is where we go. Okay, so yeah, we can skip all that. All right, so Paul has been wanting. By the way, Paul's on a stool and I'm in my chair. He's not actually taller than me.
I'm shorter.
By an inch. But we still get along. Uh, so Paul wants to tell a particular story about a particular person from our childhood. So I've been saving on not talking about it so he could. Uh, I will try not to interject too much.
No,
I
I
know.
want you to
Well,
interject. I am not good with the just flowing with a
wow.
one-sided
All right.
conversation.
This is a side of Paul I've never seen before where he's okay with me jumping in there. But let's you start, and if I need to interject, go ahead. So go ahead with the story.
Okay, well, when we were growing up, our parents always
Let
took
me
us
just
to
stop you
church.
right there. I'm just kidding.
Our parents always took us to church. It was really my mom's doing, not our dad's. So
I'll just nod in agreement.
yeah.
Tell the story.
But so we had to go to Sunday school, and the Sunday school teacher's name was Roger Rogers, which automatically raised.
We're not making that up for the sake of this video.
That was his
Not
name.
enough people are gonna watch this.
I'm not changing the names to protect the not innocent. His name
Name
was
is
Roger
Roger Rogers.
Rogers. Look him up if you care to. He's a douchebag.
Well, spoiler alert. We're gonna get
Well, he's a Sunday school teacher. This is a story.
self-explanatory.
It's not just, oh, let me tell you about when I went to Sunday school when I was a kid, and this guy's name was Roger Rogers, and he wasn't a douchebag, and everything was fine. That's not worth talking about.
The end. All right, 221 for a video. Not bad.
Yeah.
Keeping it short. Keeping it
I'll
light.
try to keep it abbreviated since we have the season finale of Walking Dead coming up in 22 minutes.
This is how we're killing time is to do this video.
Yeah. So, and I'll need to get refreshments before the video starts.
Keep it rolling.
So, anyways, we would go to Sunday school, and Roger Rogers was there. And he would ask the children, do you have any prayer requests? Well, I was 11 years old, and most of the kids in this group were around my age. So what do we really have that we want to pray about?
Yeah.
Well, what was important
Life
to
is
me?
simple.
Yeah. My parents took care of everything. What did I have to worry about?
Yeah.
Well, I cared about who won the basketball game. So I told him I wanted to pray to have the Jazz beat the Bulls in the finals because that's what was going on. And he told me that God doesn't care about basketball. And my opinion is that you cannot put words in God's mouth. Maybe God does care who wins the basketball game. Either way, I'm an 11-year-old kid, so why don't you just humor me and pray that the Jazz beat the Bulls, or just pray that God's will be done. I could even live with that. But to just say that God doesn't like basketball, I think is bullshit. And then he also went a step further and told me that it was wrong to play basketball on Sunday. It was a
They
sin.
arrest.
A
They
sin.
arrest.
Because I'm moving dirt or something. I don't know.
Yeah, moving dirt. That was kind of an issue. It was not only that you weren't supposed to go out to eat on Sundays because then you're making people work on Sunday, and just by causing them to sin, you were sinning. It was just, you just can't win with Satan.
Yeah.
So catch-22 is sinning.
So he goes and makes up his own rule that he didn't bring his own family out to eat on Sundays because he'd be forcing people to work. But then just, a couple of years later, he decided to leave his wife and children for another woman.
I feel like you're going through the story too quickly.
Well, I'm sorry.
Here's the thing about this guy. Here's the main thing. It's that this guy we had a bad feeling about. Paul, how old were, when this was all going on, how old were we?
I was like 11, so you were like 9 or 10.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I did miss a part because that day that he was talking about the basketball thing, that really just struck a nerve with me. So I told our mom and I said, I don't like this guy.
There's something off about him.
And she said, well, no, maybe you just need to listen to him. Maybe he makes a good point about the not playing basketball on Sunday.
It goes back into the diving board story I told of your parents seeing other families, either seeing individual kids or seeing entire families and being like, why can't our kids be like that? Why can't our family be like that? And you just want to be like, don't compare us to other people and think that we need to be more like them because you don't know the whole deal. And that's how we felt as little kids. Our instincts were telling us there's something not right about this guy, and he would anytime, well, not anytime, but he like would get rebaptized like multiple times
Yeah.
so that, and he always gave like a mini sermon before he got rebaptized. It was like his way to give a sermon, even though he wasn't the pastor. So he was just very like, everyone look at me and how faithful, you know that word, how faithful I am. And Paul and me were little kids, and we were like, there's something not right about this. So yeah, we moved and we stopped going to the church, and years went by, and then we hear like, oh yeah, he left his wife, he was cheating on her, and all this stuff, and we're like, oh, that's a 3-pointer on a Sunday.
Yeah, and I say if you want, you gotta leave your wife or whatever. All right, life is short. It happens. She had gray hair. She was getting
All
old.
right, yeah,
But to just leave your two kids to me
it's messed up.
makes you a piece of shit.
And what was the things that we had to memorize? The upper and the lower catechisms.
I don't.
You remember those?
I don't.
I just remember. All right, it was like you had to memorize the Bible, like you had to memorize the whole thing, and then there was this other stuff that some priests had come up with. In addition to the rules in the Bible, because they felt there weren't enough in there, these were additional rules that you need to follow. We need to memorize them. There's the upper ones and the lower ones. So it's something like that, and they're called catechisms or something. So his kids had memorized all of these, and mom was like, "You should memorize these too." And we were like, "No, thank you."
They're just good extra rules.
Yeah, it's
to
just
live
good
by,
extra rules to live by.
There's a whole book about that thick, full of rules, and now we just need
We need
to
more.
add
We need more. We need more rules. So
There's too much freedom going on.
yeah, there's just not. From
Well,
the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep, you should be thinking about 10 rules at a time to make sure that you're not breaking them.
Another thing that bothered me about this Roger Rogers is that I saw him talking with Mom one time, and he seemed very flirty, and he was all like, rah, rah, rah. And so when I told Mom about the whole not being allowed to play basketball on Sunday thing,
Yeah.
she was like, well, and he's quite charming. He's a charming
Not to
man.
us.
And I'm just like, oh, you
Yeah.
choke him. I just want to choke him.
Yeah. And yeah, so it turned out that we at 10, 11 had better judgment than our mom.
Yep.
And that continues
Still
to be
do.
the case.
Yeah.
Yeah, that hasn't changed. And Paul and I are just glad to not go to church anymore because of people like him.
Yeah.
Nothing against God. I don't have anything against God.
Not personal against God.
No, we just don't like Christians. we just don't like the people that use him to tell us how we should live our lives.
They're hypocrites.
We've been so much happier ever since we stopped going to church and hanging out with those people.
And I think you should just be a good person.
Yeah.
I try to always just be good to people. I never fucked anybody who didn't have it coming to them. So,
Scarface
Tony
was.
Montana.
I knew it. Yeah, the fact that we're even allowed to watch that movie is a sign that our childhood was not great.
Yeah, I mean, I miss
It was a
the
great
Simpsons.
childhood.
The Simpsons. It's just
We weren't
I'm
allowed
the
to
only
watch.
person
We
my
weren't allowed
age-
to watch The Simpsons because Bart called his parents by their names and called
Pretty
them
much.
Homer and Marge instead of Mom and Dad. And Mom heard about that. I was like, no.
But we're like the only people our age that haven't watched the show religiously. People our age, that was part of their growing up. They watched The Simpsons.
And we were out of the loop. We weren't allowed to watch MTV until we were like 13.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like,
Yeah. The other day, somebody asked me, they're like, "Oh, you haven't seen Goonies?" I'm like, "No, I wasn't allowed to watch."
I've never seen Goonies either. And people,
I was down the
I
list.
am such a nerd that people assume, there are certain movies that people assume that I've seen because I'm a nerd. One is Goonies, Spaceballs. People assume that as a Star Wars fan and comedy fan and nerd, that I've definitely seen Spaceballs.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I haven't seen Spaceballs yet. I'm gonna get there. And Goonies, because I want to know what the Truffle Shuffle is all about. I keep hearing about it. I want to know what it is and what the form. There's a dead body, or is that Goonies or is that Stand By Me? There's one of them that ends with
Stand By Me has a dead body.
I think there's multiple movies from the 80s that was about kids finding dead bodies.
Well, I've seen Stand By Me.
Huh.
Not in my childhood. In my adult life,
I never
when I
saw
was
it.
allowed to watch it.
I feel like if the Joel Simpson give us The Princess Bride, we would not have been allowed to watch The Princess Bride.
I don't think we ever would have come across it.
Yeah, but I feel like
I mean,
if
I've seen it on TV, but I would only stay on the channel because I know that it's an awesome ass movie.
I think that if you just turned to it and you saw this giant rat in the woods, you'd be like, pass.
I'd be like, wow, this looks stupid. Inconceivable. Like,
Inconceivable.
I don't want to watch it.
We saw Admission last night, and that guy was in it. And so the entire time you're watching, anytime he's in a scene, you're just waiting for him to use the word. Don't you think that what Tina Fey is doing right now is inconceivable, isn't it? A little inconceivable to be doing that. I think so. I'm glad we got that out of our system. We're still only at 11 minutes. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
I don't know. We might have to do a video later after The Walking Dead.
I'm not sure. I'm okay with people. I'm okay with people seeing me completely wasted. I'm not sure I'm okay with them seeing me cry. I might be crying later tonight after The Walking Dead.
Let's play it by ear, because I don't have a problem doing a video immediately after the show, because if you're watching our video before you've seen the season finale, then there's something wrong with you. So spoilers will be included in our video if there is one. So we'll see. I'm going to be crying too, so
we're going to be crying.
Say it right now. I'm going to cry tonight when some of my favorite characters.
I'll bring up the box of tissues, and I might be doing a shot tonight for my fallen brethren. for my homies who didn't make it out of the prison.
Do you have Jaeger?
I didn't finish the bottle. Yeah.
Do a shot of Jaeger sort of thing.
Have you ever done a Jaeger bomb?
Have I ever done a Jaeger bomb?
I don't know.
That was what I did. I mean, I drank. It wasn't that Jaeger bombs were my thing, but I mean, I've done probably 3 or 4 of them in my life.
And they help put things in perspective.
I don't know about that.
You know that.
Sometimes
you just gotta get drunk and it helps you put things in perspective.
You hit the reset button on your brain, that's it.
Yeah. That's a funny story that Paul doesn't like to tell.
A lot of funny stories. Okay, that's part of my life story.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. Fine. You drink kind of cake. Well, now you just fall asleep.
I have a glass of wine.
You have a glass of wine and he falls asleep.
And I break promises. Like, yeah, I'll make a video. I'll be a guest on your show.
Well, you're here now, and thank you for being my first guest on Nat Drinks and Talks About Stuff.
You know, it's starting to feel like you were never going to even get a guest on your show.
I have people say that they want to be on the show. It hasn't worked out yet, but
how many people do you have watching this show? Like on a consistent
I mean, the last few that I've put up have averaged like 20 views.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, and that's like a video that I put out a week ago, and it gets 20 views, and those kind of stuff. I have people at work talking to me about it, but I feel like having guests on, you know,
spices it up a little.
Spices it up.
Can't just be the inside of your scary mind every time.
Yeah. That last video, you see that hair sticking up? Yeah. Kind of. Let me just say it like this. Okay. Well, the last video, this is the drunkest I've been in a while. Rewatching it. It's bad. I rewatched it the night after I filmed it and didn't remember parts of it filming it. I was like, oh my god, I talked about this.
Well, clearly because you kept repeating yourself.
Yeah, I couldn't even remember what I had already said during the video. I was a bit of a memento situation where I was like, remember saying something. So I don't need to get that drunk anymore for the videos because for anyone that watched it, thank you for watching a 22-minute video of me rambling. I feel like there were some good points in there that were just lost.
Well, you've done longer videos and not been as drunk, and I've been very entertained. And I don't want to say like I was totally bored, but I was like, all right, you know.
I would give it like on a scale of like 1 to 10, it was like a 3.
It wasn't that good.
I've definitely done better videos. I feel like my thing about the weddings a couple of weeks ago, that's like a top 5 video for me. I was really proud of that one, but that came out of a conversation that I had with Joel, and so that was something that I had already kind of done like back and forth with someone already, and so I kind of had more points because I had already talked to someone about it.
Yeah.
So flickering.
I think it's because you're like moving in and out of the light.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
It doesn't know what to do with me, like most people. All right. So good, solid 15 minutes. We'll wrap it up now. There might be another video later tonight.
Yeah, I mean, we could have had more subjects to talk about.
You will think of other things to talk about, and now that you've done one, and you'll be like, good night. I'll get that text. It's like, I know what we should talk about next. How hilarious my Borat impression is. Stop. Okay. All right. So there's been another episode of Nat Drinks and Talks About Stuff. Thank you to my guest Paul.
Very nice. You're welcome.